Welcome to Tip Off Episode 2 with your hosts, Joshua Blakley and Nicholas Hofmann. Isaiah may be joining us here soon, may not be. Regardless, like in Space Jam where they all put their hands together on the ball. Or was it the Kevin Durant movie? What's the one where they what's the
Switch
one where
the
like
skills.
yeah, no, it's one where Kevin Durant loses all his basketball skills and he
Yeah,
puts it into
the
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 ball.
white kid gets it,
Yeah,
and
he put
yeah,
it into our microphones, so we have his powers now. Uh Yeah, no, that's pretty much it. Yep, we're right back here, right back to the beginning of it. Two really quick things, but have been bugging the heck out of me. Steven Adams just got injured. We all said Grizzlies were a playoff team, but we also said they were like late. I know you had them a little bit earlier than we did.
Mhm.
With Ja being out early, Steven Adams being out for the whole season, new faces in there. W- Are we still seeing the same projection here or no?
no. So I mean, one of the reasons why I actually had them lower was because I figured this injury could be a lingering thing. I didn't think it was going to be out of the season. So basically, what happened was they tried to rehab it without surgery, and he's still having issues, and they decided basically in the preseason that he's going to have surgery, and that's going to keep him out of the rest of the season. On top of that, there's still no timeline for Brandon Clark. So they're basically left without a center. You can
Yeah.
slide Jaren Jackson Jr. into that. He followed out
Xavier
in
Tillman,
20
maybe.
minutes. 20 minutes he followed out in a preseason game. We saw him in Team USA. He couldn't play center there. He's typically not a great rebounder for a guy his size. I think they're pretty screwed, especially in such a competitive West.
Yeah.
Do I see them falling totally out of the race? Probably not. I still think they're a play-in team just because Ja will come back. Desmond Bane's a great player. Marcus Smart's a great player. I think Taylor Jenkins is a really good coach, and he'll figure some things out. And, they have an arsenal of draft picks and stuff to make a move for a center, so we'll have to see. I don't think they're totally out of the play-in, but I do think at this point they're lower than what I had them projected as.
Yeah, I had them at the either 7th or 8th. I don't anymore. I think this is starting to make the markings on the wall, the Mavericks making a play in. I hate to say it, but this is what it would take. And a few more things like this happen to a few more teams, and all of a sudden, I don't wish that on any team, an injury,
Yeah.
but let it not be an injury. Let it be a trade or something. And all of a sudden, Mavericks are in there, and I think this is the markings on the wall with the Mavericks. The next thing, Giannis. How important to you is Giannis re-signing? A lot of people are making a big deal about it online.
I think it's a huge deal. Coming from the small market, this is the small market keeping their superstar, and they've proved to him that they're going to keep putting a contender around him, and he keeps signing up for that. I think as a fan of a different small market team, I think that's great, and I love to see it. What are your thoughts on it?
I think it's too short. I don't
Well,
I don't really know if it changes anything. It's just him saying I'm here as long as Dame's here. As long as Dame means that winning is there. That doesn't mean that in 2 seasons, 3
I
seasons. Dame
the
was his
one
best. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say the one thing that I think it does that's huge is it takes the pressure off of this season. It kind of says, okay, we have at least 2 years to figure this out because we know a lot of times when these blockbuster trades go down, it doesn't always work out great the first year, especially considering that they have a brand new head coach. So I think that's the biggest part of it. It just takes a little bit of pressure off. And, he also has the player option in the third year, which he'll most likely pick up because of the money that's there. So I think that's good.
I hear you with the pressure. My only worry is this doesn't say to me the Bucks are safe. And I think that's what they need.
See, I'm fine with it because I think realistically, you're not going to sign him for 6 years because the money just keeps going up and up and up. And I think he's kind of taking that almost that LeBron James-esque approach where it's like, hey, I'm always going to be slightly threatening to leave. I'm always going to keep that pressure on the front office. Now, twice the front office has proven that they're going to come through. The first time it was getting Drew Holiday and getting that ship, and now it's Dame. And if they do that one more time, I think we're looking at him retiring a Buck. Just, when you look at Giannis being 28 years old, by the end of this contract, he's 31. If they retool the roster by then, and they're still a contender, I think that's what we might see, a long-term deal. And I think for a small team, you do whatever it takes to just keep a guy like Giannis.
No, that's fair. That's 100% fair. I kind of was hoping for a longer contract. It's fair to say the money does keep going up. Sorry, the comment in Twitch chat had me at random. I wasn't expecting one. All they said was facts, but it just wasn't coming. No, yeah, it's safe for this season. It's good for the future. Good for Giannis. It just worries me with the Bucks and Chris Middleton getting older. Everybody getting older. Re-signing Giannis to such huge money. You don't really have anybody that's good under 30. Who's there? Bobby Portis?
Beauchamp. Beauchamp's interesting. The rookie. The rookie they drafted last year. Yeah.
He's interesting in preseason.
He's raw. He's very raw.
Yeah. We've seen a lot of Bucks. What's the dude 2 seasons ago had a ponytail? Forgot his name.
Crowder?
No, Crowder's there. 2 seasons ago, young guy. If I knew his name would be better to say. But the Bucks have always had a lot of good young guys. None of them have been Giannis or Middleton since Giannis or Middleton. So we'll see with Beauchamp. I just don't know if it's enough for the Bucks, but we can move off of there. Kai Jones, KPJ, Bridges, a lot of things going on. Set up Kai Jones for me. Tell me what's going on with that.
I feel bad for this dude, and I hope he gets whatever he's got going figured out. It's pretty crazy, and I really don't know what to make of it. But the guy seems like he's having a borderline mental breakdown, and I just hope he's all right and figures all that out. Because he can
pull
play
up the video if we want.
Yeah, let's pull it up. But while you do that, I'm just gonna keep rolling.
Go ahead, keep going.
Because he can play. I'm not saying he's a starting level NBA player, but he can play. All right.
I kind of hear you. Here's my very first thing. I thought that this was an accent the very first time I heard him. I didn't realize that he was like on drugs potentially.
I'm having a good day. I had to do drugs or something. No. My greatest days of all time was in the long jump pit, boy. By myself, not a drug, man. I'm about to get traded. I don't think so. I just met with Mr. Day. I don't think I'm getting traded. I think you wanted to.
I think we see enough of what the point is there.
Yeah, I just as
he looks like he's just having a good time.
Yeah,
enjoying his success.
There seems to be something really off with him, demanding the trade on Twitter, getting kicked off the team. It's not a good look, and I hope he figures it out.
I don't know if you're Kai Jones and you can demand a trade.
It was. Yeah. I mean,
especially after a stunt like this. Jokes aside, if you're Kai Jones, if you're his management, you're fired. You should be getting fired immediately. Maybe you can't control if he goes on Instagram Live and does this stupid thing, but you can control the demanding a trade and all the other extra stuff after that. Kind of is just like, hey, let me ruin my career as fast as possible.
Yeah.
KPJ. What's going on?
KPJ, this is one. I mean, I don't know if we should really talk too much about it, just because it's been back and forth. It was at first there was the police report that he broke her vertebrae. Then she comes out and is kind of backing it off, but it seems like it's that typical I was abused and now I'm backing it off. But now the judge is throwing out all the evidence and basically saying there's not enough evidence to say that he did cause any physical harm to her and that they basically only had a shouting match, which happens. So I don't know. I hope that's the truth. I hope this was.
I personally never had a shouting match that ended with a broken vertebrae, but maybe
No,
you
I-
have.
No. I meant just a shouting match. That was it. Because basically, what they're saying now is that all that really happened was they were yelling at each other, and that there wasn't like any physicality.
Was there any pictures, any evidence of her even having a broken vertebrae? Maybe she has a neck brace on. Is there any of that ever?
So the only thing that I know of is the initial police report and everything that was filed, but there was never, at least of my knowledge, there was never any photos or anything like that. So that's the best case scenario, is that there was no physical harm done, and but
him getting traded to the Clippers, right?
Thunder. They traded him to
immediately.
Thunder. 4 second-round picks.
Do you think he gets picked up?
Not this season. I don't think so. I think it's going to be one of those things that if this court case and everything goes through, and he is like innocent and clear, I think it's going to be maybe a next year thing, because the dude can hoop. And I mean, The Rock has basically had him on an NFL type contract where they could cut him at any time, and just pay out the one season. So I think the Thunder, they do have to pay him $16.5 million, but he's gone.
I don't know if he gets picked back up. And I think especially with Kai Jones, with the Jaws, with Miles Bridges, who we'll get to next, with a lot of these players who are the Joshua Primos, who have this drama outside of the court, the NBA is starting to realize it's going to happen a lot, and it's going to continue to happen unless they OJ Mayo the players. And if you don't know what I mean by that is, hey, you're banned from playing for years off of literally nothing, just because we have to make a statement, right? The Jaw statement wasn't enough, and you did it twice, and it was twice not enough. You could have added both of them together, made it just the first time, and it still wouldn't have been enough. It's just, and as much as I got the jersey on, you know what I mean? As much as I like to play, you haven't set the precedent. This cannot happen, and players being able to come back. Miles Bridges, a guy with over and over the same thing, over and over, and the NBA is still in the position of, well, we'll see. And that's awesome. But at some point, whether you're innocent or not, 2 years of that being your image still makes the NBA look bad.
Well, I mean, the thing with Kevin Porter Jr. is this isn't the first incident he's had. He's had the minor ones with him walking off the court during an NBA game. He's had, the marijuana and the loaded gun in his car. He's had these hiccups before. He's also, I believe, had a domestic abuse issue before as well. So it's not the first time with him. And I think we're at a point too, and I hate to frame it this way, but there's so much talent in the league that these guys that aren't superstars that are making these errors, the league doesn't need them at all. Yep. Doesn't affect the ratings.
And even some of the stars, they don't need them. Look at the Harden situation.
But one point I want to make on Bridges, because Bridges, he already pled no contest to the old domestic abuse, and the story now basically is that during a custody exchange with the ex, he threw 4 pool balls at her car while the kids were in the car, smashed her windshield, threatened her. And this all seems to be pretty legit and backed. And again, the past case, he pled no contest to. He was guilty of that. We saw the images and stuff. I think it needs to be made a point that this is a kid's game that people are getting paid millions of dollars for, and it's a privilege. I'm not saying the guy's got to go to jail for the rest of his life or anything like that, but, they don't need to be in the NBA. He can go do something else, and he can recover as a person. And in that light, I really think the NBA, all the sports leagues, but this is an NBA podcast, need to do a better job with the whole violence against women thing, especially when it's fully concrete and, pleading no contest or there's video evidence, whatever that 100% proof may be. I think we need to recognize it as a privilege and not really give these guys a second chance.
I mean, as much as sad as it is to say, and it feels like it's becoming more and more of a thing because we're watching it with these guys who aren't bigger names, but it has been happening for a very long time with the Tony. I mean, you look back at the Tony Parker situations, the Jason Kidd situations, etc. It's nothing new, but at the same time, back then stances were made to go ahead and say, "Hey, we're not going to play with that."
Right.
Every once in a while, you just kind of have to say, "Hey, we're not going to play with that." When things are starting to get out of line, and it feels like, hey, if you're not going to do it now, you're going to do it in the next few seasons. And I really hope it's not a player that is a jaw again, because the next player or two that does it is the one that's going to happen to, and that's when it's going to be, potentially career ending. Speaking of career ending, and not really ending, but in the air, let's go James Harden. Break down that situation. What's going on with James?
So they play Thursday night against the Bucks, and all reports are saying they're unsure. He hasn't been showing up to practices, and this is kind of what I expect out of Harden out of this point. It's a little weird just because if he doesn't play, there's that whole contract stipulation where the 76ers basically can hold his rights and he can't even sign with like a team in China. So it's kind of weird. I don't really know if he plans to kind of just show up in fat suited again. Or
he was at shoot around for a lot of preseason games. I thought
he was at shoot around, but he hasn't showed up to practice the past 3 days. And
that's what made me confident that he might actually play. But if he's not coming to practice,
right. And I didn't mean to cut you off, but the Nick Nurse interview kind of was saying, I'll just read the quote. He says, "Been preparing for this for all week, for sure." Nurse said on Friday, "Lots of thoughts have gone into him not playing and preparing the team that way this summer. I keep saying there is another plan if something changes." So it seems to me like even Nick Nurse has been banking on him not playing. And he's like, well, hey, I do have this backup system that we're going to run if Harden plays and he's playing competitively. But it seems, and I think that was the smart move because Harden has just proven time and time again, he's going to do whatever he has to get out of a situation he doesn't want to be in. And it could get ugly.
I think whether it gets ugly or not, he's not a 76er by the trade deadline. Whether he doesn't play, whether he Ben Simmons is it, whatever it is, by trade deadline, he's somewhere else.
See, I don't fully know, just because at this point, I mean, I feel like it's a little personal for Daryl Morey. And
is it so personal that you're willing to let Embiid?
It shouldn't be. It shouldn't be. It shouldn't be.
That's my thing. I think Daryl Morey is at least smart enough to realize, hey, we have to at least move him for something. And teams are realizing, look, this isn't like the Dame situation.
Yeah,
you're really screwed.
The problem
would have played.
The problem is getting teams to give up something. I mean, the Clippers basically want to send salary match and like a first.
Yeah, they changed it from a first to 2 seconds.
Seconds, yeah. I mean, so that's kind of the dilemma, and I don't know. It's gonna be interesting for sure, but it's kind of just one of those wait and sees.
The crazy thing is, I think if he plays, they're easily the third best team in the East. Easily. My biggest thing with the James Harden situation, if he goes to the Clippers, like he wants, like a lot of people are wanting, like kind of I want. The West is once again, like if they're not already, they're once again so deep, so contender heavy.
Yeah.
If he goes, here's the question I'm trying to propose, I guess, in short form. If he gets traded, especially to the Clippers, specifically the Clippers, is that bad for the league? Is that too much going on? It feels like it is.
I understand what you're saying, but I also feel like the Celtics and Bucks are in a different tier than the 76ers. I feel like the 76ers have a puncher's chance. They make it into the playoffs and they're healthy and things go right. Sure, they could come out of the East, but I think if you simulate it 100 times, they might come out of the East once or twice. So I don't know if it really causes that much of an imbalance, and I think we'll see the correction next year because the Sixers will have all the cap space that they want to, and they'll try to land somebody in free agency, and I think all that stuff will kind of even back out.
I don't necessarily mean standings. I mean like the Ben Simmons situation happened, or the Kyrie situation happened, where it's, hey, I have this personal thing, I'm not going to play. Now let's have backlash situational stuff happen. But this James Harden one is, I'm also going to attack back. We haven't seen that with the Ben Simmons. It was more like Ben Simmons is behind the name, behind the screen. He's not there. Kyrie was, on Instagram Live once or twice, but he wasn't saying anything harmful. You know what I mean? The James Harden thing feels very aggressive. The Damian Lillard situation just happened, and I think I'm still processing how that happened, but it wasn't pretty. It wasn't nice at all, as much as everyone wants to be cool about it from both sides. It feels like if this James Harden situation happens, he gets moved to a team, specifically the Clippers, that he's asking to go to. A team that really is the only team that benefits the most and even close to becoming a tender with James Harden. It feels like it's sending a horrible message. Kind of on the same situation as the Miles Bridges if he comes back to the league. And that's my point, is it feels like too much is going on if we allow James Harden to
bully his way
just
out.
go wherever he wants. Yeah, for the third time.
Yeah. I think the only way it happens is if the Clippers up their offer. And I don't see why they would do that. I just, maybe we get through the middle of the season and they decide, screw it, this is our last, not last chance, but we really want to go for this. We got the new stadium coming.
They would have zero future if they did that, because they're already banking on being able to re-sign both Kawhi and PG, who are coming towards the end of their career. If they make the trade, the guy that the Sixers want the most is one of their younger pieces in Terrence Mann. It doesn't make sense for that to happen because they're on the James Harden is good timeline, and that's a horrible timeline. It isn't working with the MVP of the league. It's not going to work with injury-ridden Clippers. This is real stuff.
Yeah.
I like the Brogdon to that team.
I did too.
That's where you ended up going, right?
Brogdon's on the Trailblazers.
I like him on that team. If they make that trade, that would be interesting. I really wanted Derek White to end up going there, but that was before he ended up going to the Celtics. When he was on the Grizzlies, I wanted him to go to
the Spurs, right?
Derek Anderson. Who's the tall? He's on the Timberwolves.
Oh, Kyle Anderson.
There you go.
Oh, okay. You said Derek White. I was like, Derek White is on the Spurs.
Tall light skin guy.
Yeah. Slow-mo.
He's slow. I don't know his nickname, but is that what they call him?
Yeah, Slow-mo? He's got just this very slow jump shot, and
But he's the point forward type, right? Anyways, on stuff I do know about, Andre Iguodala. A lot of hate coming in, saying Andre Iguodala is not a Hall of Famer. He said it himself, and I think that's why it's such a huge conversation. I don't think people are talking about it as much if Andre Iguodala doesn't say it himself. But I guess that does create the conversation. Is he a Hall of Famer?
I mean, I think so, but I'm not standing on a couch throwing a fit if he doesn't get in either. I mean, if you look at his career, he played 19 seasons. He never averaged more than 20 points a game. His career high was 34 points. He never made an All-NBA team. 1 All-Star game, 2 All-Defensive teams, and an All-Rookie team. Finals MVP and 4 rings, though. Now, you can say that's a product of the Warriors, but what Iggy said was pretty much spot on, and I was kind of looking at some Hall of Famers that had never made an All-NBA team, and there's dudes that aren't in the Hall of Fame that are probably should be and that have more impressive careers than Iggy, but there's definitely dudes in the Hall of Fame whose careers aren't as impressive as Iggy.
Aren't even close to Iggy's.
Yeah. So I like him. I like the idea of him making the Hall of Fame, and I'm fine with it. But I can also see the argument of we just can't. This is the Hall of Fame. We can't. It's not the Hall of Fame of role players. We can't just let these guys in. So, what are your thoughts on it?
My thing with the Hall of Fame, and I think a lot of people forget, is that it's not the NBA Hall of Fame. It's the Basketball Hall of Fame. There's a lot of people in the Hall of Fame who don't have a nearly impressive NBA career as they do careers elsewhere, whether that's a college career, etc. I mean, I'll put it this way: Kareem. We were talking the other day about Wemby being one of like the highest touted prospects, blah blah blah. Right? Kareem was up there with how he was as a prospect. The guy was a 2-time college champ, I think, before he came into the draft. What I'm saying is if Kareem would have been one of those all college guys back then, he could have been a Hall of Famer. So I say that to say, if we were looking at the scale of just NBA Hall of Fame, a lot of people would be gone, and I would still put Iggy in there. But if we're talking basketball, and that includes NBA plus other stuff, they got a lot of bad people in there. You might as well give it to them. I think it's too late to start start nitpicking who's in the Hall of Fame and who's not. Yeah. It's too late.
Yeah. Now, I guess I do see the argument of a lot of people say that Finals MVP should have went to Steph. But
yeah, because he really didn't hold LeBron.
He just guarded LeBron
and didn't hold him to anything.
So it was it did feel like at the time, like, well, we have to give it to somebody.
Well, so here's that team, that Warriors team, as much as everyone loves to give Steph Curry the credit, that team felt reminiscent of like the Pistons team when it comes to who are we going to give it to. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? It's like, look, a lot of people had their hands in this, and it's pretty even. Just pick one. And they chose Iggy. Regardless, he was still one of those guys, and he was one of those guys for 4 of them. You know what I mean? Well, 3 of them at minimum. You know what I mean? One of them, but he still had good clutch minutes. One of the greatest Sixers I saw for like 4 or 5 seasons.
Yep.
I mean, the guy's had a great career. A lot of people didn't even realize who Iggy was until he was on the Warriors, which I feel like is just that crazy. New NBA talk. You know what I mean? Yeah. Iggy was crazy before. I think he had his best. He had his best seasons before he was on the Warriors.
Yeah.
Now I'll say this: who had a better career, Iggy or Vince Carter? And then you tell me if he should be in the Hall of Fame, because I don't think anybody's saying that Vince Carter shouldn't be, but I think Iggy had a better career.
Yeah,
I'd take Iggy's in a heartbeat.
Yeah, I guess overall it's so hard because I think it's that Warriors lens of just, he was never a starter for them. I mean, he started games for them, but he wasn't part of their starting lineup, and I don't know. So I put him in, but I see the argument where people are like, we can't just let everybody in. We're not. It's like the Lakers not retiring Derek Fisher's number, and they're like, we can't retire everybody's number, man.
What about the eye test? The eye test with Iggy for at least a solid 10 seasons straight. The eye test with Iggy was offensively for about 8 seasons straight on the court. Iggy, if he was on the court offensively, you knew where he was. Not saying he took over, not saying he went crazy, but offensively, you knew where he was, and he had a presence. Defensively, it was like avoid him, avoid. Kind of like how you see Giannis. I'm not saying they're the same kind of defenders, but when when Giannis is on the defensive end, you try to move away. The same thing was with Iggy. He was that impactful of a defender, and that was for 10 straight seasons. We don't see that in the NBA.
Yeah.
Most players struggle to do that for 4. Come on, people were high on Matisse Thybulle for 3 straight seasons, talking about he was the next best defender, and now they forgot what team he even plays on, like the Trailblazers. But regardless, you see what I'm saying. Iggy, he was so dominant. He was such a two-way guy that it's hard for me to look at a Vince Carter, who's in the Hall of Fame. People really hate this, and Allen Iverson's career, and go Iggy's a no-go. That doesn't make sense. You know what I mean? I'm not saying that if Allen Iverson is a clear Hall of Famer, then Iggy is at least makes it for sure.
Yeah. I mean, we'll see. But like I said, I'd put him in, but I'm also not gonna go to war for the guy if he doesn't get in.
You know? He screwed himself. He tried that humble, I don't deserve it, blah blah blah. That was lame. He shouldn't have done that. Now he might not make it. Before, if he didn't do that, I think it was clear he makes it.
It's almost like he opened the door for people to come in and be like, well, he did never average 20 points a game. It's like, well, he never did make an all-NBA team. He's only made one all-star. He kind of opened that door.
Yeah.
A little
100%. So look, we weren't going to do this, but I got to see where we're at. See how these trivia questions are going. Let me throw these questions at you. You give me your best answers.
Oof.
All right. I only had 5 for y'all at the time. Out of every team Trevor Ariza has ever played for, which of these teams is not one of them? Out of 5. Knicks, Suns, Blazers, Kings, Mavs.
Jeez. I can only picture him in a Rockets uniform right now.
I'll tell you this. There's more than 5 teams he's played for.
Yeah. Oh, I know. Oh, God. I'm just going to take a guess. I'm going to guess Knicks.
Wrong. The Mavs.
Mavs. Okay.
All right. Now, look. There are many teams possible. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's 9 teams possible. I'm going to give you 10 guesses. See how many you can get in 10 guesses of every team that Rajon Rondo has played for.
Okay. So
there's 9.
Celtics, Lakers, Bulls.
You can keep. I'll tell you. Yeah, you got it right so far.
Okay. Man, it's been around. Was he on the Clippers?
You tell me.
Yeah, I guess I'll say the Clippers.
Yep, Clippers is right.
Oh man, freaking Rondo. Cavs?
Correct.
So that's 5.
If you say a team like that to me, I'm just gonna take it as a guess.
Yeah. I'm throwing guesses out.
Yeah, you're 5 for 5 so far.
Oh man. Jeez.
4 more. I only think about one of these is hard.
What's that?
Only one of these is like hard to remember.
Only it's just played on. He's just been around so much, you know. Yeah.
Fun fact while you're thinking, Rajon Rondo is the creator of one of my signature moves when I play basketball, and that's the one hand behind the back fake pass.
The fake?
Yeah, that's my favorite move. I'd use it all the time. No athleticism needed for that move, by the way.
Yeah, just a decent size hand.
Yep.
Oh, man. I'm blanking on the rest of these, man. I really can't.
If you want to forfeit, we can call it forfeit.
Yeah, because I don't have any educated guesses left.
Right.
I just start them out.
The 4
feel
left
like-
teams were the Kings, the Mavericks, the Hawks, and the Pelicans.
Okay, I should have got the Pelicans. The rest of them I wouldn't have probably gotten.
The Hawks were the ones that I was like, oh, wait a minute. He did play for the Hawks? Oh, he
Yeah,
did. All right. 10 guesses is all you get. You give me all 10 teams that have never won a championship. Now,
jeez.
originally, these questions were for you and Isaiah to both do. And I was going to give you guys one guess at a time, and whoever got the most won. But since it's only you, give me 10 guesses.
There's 10 teams that haven't
There's
won
10
a chip?
teams that have not won a chip.
Okay.
Perfect number. Give me 10 guesses.
Now the Supersonics won a chip, right? Are we counting that for
They do count for the Thunder.
Thunder? Okay. The Pelicans,
Okay.
the Grizzlies.
Okay.
Oh, jeez, I should know these. Damn, there's 10 teams.
These do feel like gimmies, but at the same time, when you start to break it down, you're like, oh, wait a minute, there's that many?
Right? Yeah, I didn't think there was that many. Oh man. Can I pull up a list of teams?
All right, yeah, I'm gonna trust you to not pull up. Yeah,
Okay. No,
Wait,
I just pull it up.
but
like
you only
the
get 8
NBA.
guesses left. 8 guesses. I'm holding you tight since you're pulling up a list.
The Jazz.
Okay.
Let's see a list of teams here. Wizards?
That is your first wrong guess.
Okay. Hornets,
Okay.
Magic,
Okay.
Spurs.
4 left. 4 guesses left. But there is 5 teams. One's
Clippers?
obvious. Yep, there you go. Obvious. Here's a hint.
Pacers?
Oh, there you go. 2 guesses, 3 more. Here's a hint for one of them. They might get their first one soon. And I guess for one of the other 3 as well. Did
I guess the Timberwolves?
You did not, but there you go. There's one.
Okay.
There's 2 left. One more guess.
Oh man, it's getting hard now.
Yep, and one of these teams had their chance but blew it with trades. And then the new one just might have a chance here soon because of trades. You got to guess
The
one.
Hawks?
Nope. And that's the last guess of the Hawks. It's the Suns and the Nets.
Okay. The Nets were going to be my next pick.
All right. This is the fun.
I should have got the Suns one when you were talking about they gave it away.
Yeah, I thought I was going to give it away with the hint.
Yeah.
I thought. All right. This is a new fun fact for me. I really love this fact. Out of all players ever named Jason, you get 2 guesses. All players ever named Jason. Who has the most career points? There's a lot of Jasons.
Is it Terry?
Is that your guess?
Yeah.
It is Terry. It is
No
Terry.
shit.
It is Terry. It is Terry. God damn it. I expect Tatum to take it eventually. All right, last one. I'll give you 11 guesses. Kind of hard. Give me no order. Give me all 10 of the top 10 leaders in rebounds per game last season at the end of the season, not playoffs.
Oh God. Giannis, Jokic, Embiid.
Yep. I'll give you a hint. Since you rattled off 3, I'll give you 3 hints. One is an undersized 4. One only plays on one end. And one is mini Jokic in my eyes. There you go.
Sabonis.
There you go.
That's 4. Jeez. Undersized.
Sabonis
4.
had the highest rebounds per game last season.
Is it Draymond?
Nope. First wrong guess.
Damn.
Undersized 4, and that player plays for the Knicks.
Oh,
Unless you
Randall.
had a bad guess. There you go.
Okay.
10 rebounds per game at Randall.
Damn.
You got 5 left with 4 guesses.
Is it Jakob Poeltl?
Ooh, no.
No.
Nope.
Who are the rest of them?
All right. The last 5 are Rudy Gobert, DeAndre Ayton, Jonas Valanciunas, Clint Capella, and Nikola Vucevic.
That's all. Vooch.
That's all I have for the questions. Before we end, you wanted to go over the off season.
Yeah. Just all the signings and who didn't get their extensions. So just kind of off the Clint Capella thing, Onyeka Okongwu, 4 years, $62 million. It's $15.2 million a year. That's starter money to me. I don't know if I just haven't adjusted to the new CBA.
That's a lot of money for a guy who's not going to be playing.
Yeah. So I think
should be, but he won't be.
Yeah, and I mean, this is something we talked about in the past episode. At this point, the Hawks need to play him and see what he is. They've been pushing to make that move, and I think at this point, his contract pretty much says they kind of have to.
Well, the big thing with this offseason to note with a lot of these contracts is teams were forced to spend at minimum 90% of salary cap.
That's true.
So a lot of these salaries, like this one, like one I'm going to bring up right after this, it seems like a lot, but it's just as secure that player will be there over the next few years. So it's nice to see them do that with him, but you still have Capella, and Okongwu is not playing the 4 in my eyes.
No.
So what's going on? Because if Capella's coming off the bench, there's an issue. Capella is on too much money to come off the bench.
Yeah.
And even if you argue with me that it's not that he can go off the bench for that much money, what are you getting with him off the bench? What is he doing for you?
At this point, signing him to that contract, I don't see them keeping both of those guys. And I'm guessing Clint Capella is the one who gets moved, but I mean, we also don't fully know. They could be doing this.
Let's stay there. Let's stay there on the Hawks. Them moving Rudy Gay in a second for John Collins. First of all, you gave away John Collins for free. I don't know why you do that. I don't know what you were going to do with John Collins. He had some moments where it was like, oh, he looks really good. And then a lot of moments, and then a lot of moments where you're like, what did this guy do again?
Yeah.
Very inconsistent. But you don't give him away for Rudy Gay, who's maybe going to see the court for 4 minutes a night.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Who is literally just going to be in your Vince Carter role from 3-4 years ago, where you're playing him at the end of games, or he's going to talk for you on the bench. That's cool. But for John Collins, you could have got at least some good picks, something.
So, I think they waited too long. And I feel like they almost drove the stock down on him by keeping him in trade talks year after year after year. And it was kind of like, well, here's this young guy that looks like he has a lot of talent, but the Hawks are always trying to trade him. And it kind of almost puts you in that path where it's like, well, what's wrong with the guy?
Yeah.
You know, what are we missing that the organization is seeing on a day-to-day basis, where you have this young, hyper-athletic player that can shoot some nights, and it seemed like they wanted nothing to do with him. It seemed like they wanted to move him. He was always the scapegoat, and so I think they kind of 3 years trade talk. Yeah, and I think that almost slowed it down.
The money you were going to have to pay him to keep him, right? Because that was always the thing with him. You were thinking about moving him because you're going to have to pay him the bag. You didn't want to pay him the bag because there's other guys you want to split that money up. The people you just split it up to and might potentially have to pay, which is Capella, which they will probably pay, which is sad to say, but they might probably do it. And if they don't, they just gave it to Okongwu and who, nobody else. The money you're going to give him anyways, you're giving that you're forced to pay with the new rules, and you gave it to nobodies that aren't going to do anything compared to giving him another 2-3 more years without forcing a trade. I just don't understand what the Hawks are doing over there, but
Yeah.
I'll get off of them. They're just confusing. It makes no sense.
Yeah. Next, Josh Green from the Mavs, 3 years, 41 mil.
I like it.
Yeah, I think that's fine. I think the Mavs have to keep their guys that are showing any type of,
Especially at the
potential.
3.
Yeah.
Where they have nobody at the 3.
Yeah. And I mean, that works out to 13.6 a year, which is 6-man to starter money. So I think that's fine.
Yep. And he's had some good preseason games.
Yeah.
He's had some good shooting nights. He's not coming out there dominating. I don't have as much hope for him as I do with Jaden Hardy, but I don't have a lot of hope for Jaden Hardy since he's going to have to play third fiddle on the same role as Luka and Kyrie, which that's just what Mavs do. They get a bunch of point guards and they throw them all away and keep Luka, which we're seeing get a bunch of them. So that's cool. Josh Green can be that 3 and D. I think they want him to be that.
Right.
Some nights it feels like. Some nights I watch him play and I go, Josh Green feels like mini Jason Tatum. And then sometimes I watch him play and I'm like, yeah, you look like Reggie Bullock.
Yeah, yeah. But, I mean, he is the archetype that the Mavs want to put around Luka. 3 and D,
Yep.
So I think that move's fine.
Yep.
Moving on, kind of a weird one. Well, maybe not totally weird, but Cole Anthony with the Magic, 3 years, 39 mil. I just feel like they're so stacked up at the guard. With drafting Anthony Black, I think Markelle Fultz is a better player than Cole Anthony.
Yeah, are you starting Anthony Black? Because it feels like you wasted that pick if you're not going to start him, because there were some guys who could have easily been starters in Cam Whitmore, et cetera, et cetera. Keontae George could have been a starter for this team if you would have picked honestly, if you would have picked not a point guard or a power forward, you could have argued with me, or even a center if you really want to put Paolo there, that you pick a 2 or 3 and they easily start in this team. It feels weird to get Anthony Black, who only really will benefit from a starting role in this team, because what does he do best? Distribute, and the only people that can score on that team are the starters. It doesn't make much sense.
For me, I kind of felt like it was going to be, which it still might happen. I mean, either Cole Anthony or Markelle Fultz gets moved for more of a need.
Do you think his contract to me sounds like this is enough money to where if we end up wanting to move you, this is about the value we expect
it's
to
a
get
good
back.
number. Yeah. I think it's a good number. I didn't see it and think, whoa, they overpaid him or anything. It's confusing with how many guards they have. I didn't hate the Anthony Black pick. I mean, now hindsight, Keontae George seems like a much better player.
Yeah.
And I think somebody who would have fit better. But Anthony Black, there was a lot of hype around that guy. And if the Magic really liked him, that's fine. But I think Cole Anthony or Fultz probably has to get moved this season.
Yeah. No, I agree. There's a lot of teams, I think, who would look for guys like that as well. There's a lot of pieces that you can get. There's also people on that team that you can pair them with. The good thing with the Magic is they have so many young guys that could and are on contracts that are movable friendly, and they're easily movable because they're just a lot of young potential talent, and they're not kind of similar to the Bulls problem where you have young talent that are getting to the point of, all right, if you're not going to show it now, then we know it's not going to happen. That hasn't technically happened yet with Markelle Fultz, given the leeway with the injury and being a number 1 pick. That hasn't happened yet with Anthony because he's continued to get better. Hasn't happened yet with Suggs. We're forgetting him. He was supposed to be a point guard as well. But moves need to happen, and they need to happen by the trade deadline, or it's going to stunt a few of these. Not stunt, but it's going to hold back a few of these guys grow.
Yeah. One that I really liked, Spurs, Zach Collins, 2 years, $35 million. That's 17.5 per year. That's basically right at the standard starter number that we've seen. I think they're going to play him at the 5 with Wemby at the 4. I like the idea of them playing him with him and letting Wemby kind of ease himself in, not have to take the pounding of the Jokic's and, the biggest guy on the court.
Yeah.
I think we're going to see Wemby get stuck on the non-shooter, and he's going to be kind of in that roaming role. And I like Zach Collins. I mean, he can also shoot fairly decently, so he's going to, he will be able to keep spacing. And I like that for the Spurs, who, don't have a ton of high contract guys on their books.
My issue, I like Zach Collins. I think it's a great pickup. Now, on the court, the Zach Collins pickup to me looks like when Wemby is on the court with Zach Collins, Wemby doesn't look like he feels the need to rebound defensively or offensively. Like he has multiple games where he isn't getting out of the game with more than 5 rebounds.
Yeah, because he's leaking out and running down the court.
And it's working because it's preseason, but we see, especially as the season continues on, that rebounding differentials 99% of the time lead to a loss, especially big ones, especially against teams that are at the top who have big guys, who will get the offensive rebound and put it back. The Zach Collins is great, but he's not Andre Drummond in his prime with the rebounds. He's not Andrew Bynum in his prime with the rebounds. So I like it a lot for the future, but Wemby needs to either figure out that he needs to also rebound, or that Zach Collins is going to look a little worse on the eye test because
I think the cherry picking is going to kind of die out pretty fast in the regular season.
I hope so.
I think it will. I think, Pop.
It's fun to watch, but
yeah. And Pop had even made the comment that he wasn't really even coaching him on offense, and they were kind of letting him freelance and stuff like that.
I see that 7'4" guy, 3-point line one more time, and not just get that big body down there. I'll lose it.
But these other two, the re-signs, I don't have much to talk about, but if you do, chime in. Aaron Naismith, 3 years, $33 million.
I actually want to talk about Jeremy Grant's contract.
Okay.
I think this was one of those, we got to pay someone, and we want to keep a bunch of young guys on the team who are not going to be able to eat up big contracts right now. So they had to give the money to someone. They chose Jeremy Grant. I think the timing of while Lillard was there, maybe in hindsight, maybe they already had the request from Lillard, and it just hadn't been public. And they're like, all right, cool, we gotta keep Jeremy Grant. Or it is what it looked like, and it was, hey, look, Lillard, we want to win with you, and we're going to give him a lot of money. Either way, I don't like it. I don't think he's worth it. You can argue with me and say, look, say he has a good season, say he averages 19, has 6 rebounds because he's not a great rebounder, and he's looking nice for that team. You can move him for someone who's valued at that contract. Who in the league is valued at the contract that you're going to get much better with, or potentially much back with, and you want picks for a guy like him if you move him? It doesn't make a lot of sense to give him money like that. The Lakers did well because they gave D'Lo and Reeves these contracts that if they don't end up working, they can trade them easy. Look at the Kyrie contract. If Kyrie doesn't end up working, it's good contract to trade him. Jeremy Grant just doesn't make sense in any world to me.
What's his per year? It's like 27 or something.
Yeah, I'll have to look it up real quick.
So the only thing with that is
it's a 5-year, $160 million.
Annual average 32. Okay.
Yeah.
So the only reason why I say that I don't hate it is just because it feels like they have a real team in Portland. And I don't get me wrong, I picked them to be last in the West, and I still stand by that. But it feels like they have a real starting 5 in Portland with their future and Scoot, the whatever, I guess maybe the second, eventually will be the second best player, but right now probably the first, Anthony Simons.
Yeah.
You have Ayton, Grant, and Thibault.
Very athletic.
It feels like a real starting 5.
And Shaedon Sharpe as well.
And Shaden
Great
Sharp
dude.
as well. Yeah, I guess
love
maybe
him.
start Shaden Sharp.
Yeah, I think you have to. He looked really good with Lillard at the end of the season.
But so I think they have their young guys. We still don't really totally know what Jabari Walker is going to be. They're not really paying anybody. I think, especially with the way the contracts are going and stuff, I don't think Grant Steele is terrible to move. I don't think it's perfect, but I don't think they'll have a problem moving off of it in a year or two when they're starting to get ready to pay guys. And in that situation, he's going to be on, close to an expiring, and that's where a team might jump in at the trade deadline or something. Somebody that's trying to make a run. So
how do you feel about the Chicago Bulls getting Derek Favors? I know it isn't huge. They also signed Javon Carter and Torrey
Craig.
That
pickup.
Re-signed Vucevic, Kobe White, let Pat Bev go. Look, I know we're not a contender. We're not we're not the best team out there in the East. We're probably not a top 5. But in my eyes, no Lonzo Ball. This team still, to me, looks like, a clear playoff team. Am I wrong for that? I mean,
I wouldn't say clear just because I don't know what Kobe White's going to be. It looks like he's going to be their starting point guard. I really do like the Javon Carter pickup. I don't think Derek Favors can play in the league anymore. I mean, he was the guy that got waived by the Thunder last year. He's good.
And it seems like we're giving Andre Drummond a lot of that backup center minutes. It looked like in the preseason we wanted Derek Favors to be our off the bench modern day big, or like they can come in and stretch the floor, but he's too old. Derek Favors at his core was always a really good post playing big. Almost similar to a what's the white guy that played David West? Not white guy, but white guy for the Warriors. No, but what's the one for the Warriors? David something. You know what I'm talking about? Not Bogut, but David something. He was on the same team.
Oh, I was thinking Bogut.
No.
David West?
David Lee. I don't know. I'll figure it out another time. But regardless, it feels like that's what they want from him. But I like the Javon Carter. People don't realize that he was a huge reason why the Bucks were still able, especially while Drew Holiday was going through the weird thing he had in the beginning of the season with injuries. He's a huge reason why the Bucks were able to stay and keep that number 1 overall throughout the season. And we don't need to do much. He's in that Patty Mills role for us. Come and be electrifying off the bench and go back to the bench. Torrey Craig, a good modern day 3-4. I don't know. I really think this is a clear playoff team. Signing Vucevic to a longer deal was not the move. But I guess if you really want to all in still on a not contending team, then this is the way to make them playoff team to me. Am I wrong? I don't think you put them in playoffs, did you?
No, I didn't. I do think though, with all the investments and with 2 players like Zach LaVine and DeMar, you have to be trying to make the playoffs. I don't think they're in any tank mode or anything like that. To me, it almost seems like they're just trying to buy time and keep this together and maybe get one last look with Lonzo on the team, which
or a free agent look.
Yeah,
they're always a team. We're always a team that might possibly land a free agent. When AD and Lakers, right before he was talking about going to Lakers, it was the Bulls. You know what I mean? With Donovan Mitchell, he almost came to the Bulls. And Rudy Gobert was talking about leaving the Jazz. Almost came to the Bulls. The Bulls always are almost potentially somebody's team.
Was saying he'd love to play for the Bulls. I mean,
we're always somebody. So we always try and keep a core that is waiting for that one guy, that one superstar. But here's the thing: we haven't ever been successful unless we build them from within. Ever, we've never been able to build up and do that kind of stuff. And when we tried, when we build from within, we get close. We had Derrick Rose close. Jordan worked. We're clearly not going to win, especially with this core. We're going to have to rebuild the entire thing more than likely. But I think it's criminal to not say the Chicago Bulls are a playoff team. I just don't. You can't tell me that there is
I don't think they're a
17.
clear playoff team. I mean, where did I even have them? Because I have my notes right here.
Let me see what I had them too, just to make sure that I think I had them at
Okay.
like 6.
I had them 11, so I have them right outside the play-in. So
Let me
I
see what I had. I had them at 7.
okay. Well, I'm a little high on the Magic, so
Yeah,
we'll
that's
see how
fair.
all that plays out.
And yeah, we'll have to see. Tomorrow we'll have to see with the game ones. First day. I'm excited.
Yeah.
We're gonna
Real
have
quick.
to definitely
The no contract extension guys that are all going to be hitting restricted free agency this summer. Sadiq Bey from the Hawks, Emmanuel Quickley from the Knicks, Patrick Williams from the Bulls, Obi Toppin from the Pacers, and Precious Achiuwa from the Raptors. Any of these stand out to you?
I think Sadiq Bey is going to be a guy that will go for less than 20 mil a year and can shake up a team, whether it's the Suns, whether it's the Clippers. No, maybe not the Clippers as much, but the Bucks especially can shake up a team. Maybe you start to move some of those if guys on the Knicks and you bring in a Sadiq Bey to just be a guaranteed 3-and-D, not a guy that you have to bet on like an RJ Barrett or a Randall, and you get somebody good in that. Sadiq Bey is a big one that I'm going to be keeping my eye on just because I think he's ready for that kind of stuff. He's proven that he can be consistent. He's not consistently an all-star, but he's consistently a good role player.
Yeah.
He's Joe Ingles, but I think Joe Ingles is a good comparison.
The one that I guess they're probably trying to wait and see what he is. And I mean, these guys are in restricted free agency, right? So it's like, in reality, it's not like a team can come and just totally scoop them away. Like they're going to have the ability to match these contracts.
Yeah.
And he just got there, and that's probably what this is. Obi Toppin with the Pacers. I just feel like that was the guy I was not totally shocked, but out of this group, him and Quickley surprised me the most. The only reason Sadiq Bey didn't really surprise me is just because I don't think the Hawks really have a good grasp on what they're doing.
Yeah. I don't know if he surprises me, right? I don't think Quickley surprises me. Quickley, I think it was coming that they weren't going to pay him outright because he had moments where you're like, this is clearly 6th man of the year because 6th man of the year has become best bench player. And Quickley has been looking amazing. But then he also had moments where in the playoffs where Quickley is like, where are you? You know what I mean? Yeah. And he is one of those streaky guys. I hate to put him in this kind of category, but he reminds me of a J.R. Smith, where some games you're like, yeah, he's gonna go crazy, he's gonna do his thing, and in some games he's just an average player. And so it doesn't surprise me they want to give him another year, see how things are. The Knicks are a team who are we're trying to contend, but we know we need an adjustment. And we're willing to try a lot of different things that involves waiting a few years with guys, not rushing on signings. Hey, we might end up having to let you go, like an Obi Toppin. Maybe the conversation with Obi Toppin, which I have a feeling it was we're probably not going to pay you what you want at the end of this. So we can move you now if you'd like. You have value. Now, I don't know how much he's worth. I think a lot of people are high on him because he won a dunk contest. But regardless, he's going to be fun on the Pacers. They shouldn't pay him outright because Tyrese Haliburton just got the bag. You have a lot of guys who are looking to eat off of Tyrese Haliburton, and not all of them are going to eat like that off of Tyrese Haliburton. He also is going to have to eat. Miles Turner. You have a budding potential star in who's the 2 guard that was really good last year? I forget his name, but they have on the Pacers.
Oh, man.
Rookie from last year.
Oh, Benedict Mathurin,
who's a potential star. I loved him. Andrew Nembhard, who I think is going to be a great bench piece in the future. I just think that they have guys on there that Buddy Hield as well. I think they have guys in there. Bruce Brown's on that team. They have guys in there who are going to have to eat as well, and not everyone is going to get paid like they're out there contributing, and they're going to have to wait. And Obi Toppin, it sucks to suck. You move teams, so now you're going to have to wait.
Yeah, I think that's the story with most of this group is they're almost banking on another team is not playing them or not paying them. Excuse me. And they're kind of just in that wait and see. What do you think about Patrick Williams? I'm sure you've watched a lot more of him than I have.
Yeah, I like him when he's playing well. My issue with him is the same issue I have with Io, the same issue I have with Kobe. The Bulls as a team, we messed up with marketing. We're still doing it with a lot of players, where we'll let players really shine, and then we'll remember that we have guys who have shown before on other teams, like Levine, like DeRozan, and we go, oh shoot, those guys now need to play and do their best, and they need to do what they're paid to do, and then we stop letting these young guys really develop well. We force them to be in the system, a system that hasn't worked. Patrick Williams has done really well in the Bulls system. A lot of people like to say he looks like he could potentially be a Kawhi.
Yeah,
I see the comparison, but man, I don't know if he's going to develop well. He'll develop well in a few years. We've been saying that for years now.
yeah. But that's the thing is like it just seems like you guys are always waiting on
We
him.
brought up a
It's like,
player who I think he is the most similar to right now. I think he's a slightly more physical and a younger version and a slightly better defender of a Sadiq Bey. That's who Patrick Williams reminds me a lot of, at least what he's doing right now. I hope he has a bigger jump this season. I hope he comes out and plays like a Jeremy Grant, like we want him to, or he comes out and plays like an Andrew Wiggins, like we need him to. But I don't see it happening. The Bulls have our system is so centered around our big three, who are all in their or early to mid 30s. You know what I mean? These younger guys, man, they would really eat. But we'd have to blow it up. Io is. I mean, I'm sure you've seen Io play on good nights, and Io looks
I
really
was really
good.
high on him coming into the draft.
But what does he do in this league?
Yeah.
What's his identity? You know,
He had a really
Kobe.
good start. He came out of the gates and he looked like, oh, he's going to contribute and keep progressing. But then he just stopped progressing, it seemed.
I really like Kobe. I remember I watched it whenever we drafted him. I watched him like a hawk in his rookie year. He reminded his peak to me is still Zach LaVine, but the issue is he's playing behind Zach LaVine, who is playing behind DeMar DeRozan.
Yeah.
These are the issues we have with the Bulls. Io needs the ball in his hands to really be Io. Kobe needs the ball in his hands to be him. Patrick needs the ball in his hands, and they're behind three dudes who need the ball in their hands.
And that's why I hate coming back to this because it's injuries, but it's Lonzo Ball. I mean, he was the piece that he was the glue or the connector or whatever you want to refer to him as.
Yeah,
he was the guy that
general
made the ball swing and got it in other people's hands. Got created shots for more people off actions.
I think we want Io to do that. We want him to be the playmaker that we don't have with Lonzo. But the problem is it doesn't seem like Io can do that.
No.
And we've tried guys. We've tried bringing back the Dragon, Goran Dragic. You guys know what I'm talking about. Spurs playoff legend, Goran Dragic, right? He didn't do anything for us. We have Caruso, who is not Lakers Caruso. But he plays defense well, but that's about it.
But he's not.
Patrick Beverly, what was he supposed to do for us? Bring energy? Like, we don't need energy. We have that. We have too much of it. We have defenders. People like to say that we need to bring defense in there, maybe big man defense, but our perimeter defense is great. We keep drafting great defenders. Dalen Terry is one of the best perimeter young guys in the league. We just need passing, and we need bigs who can shoot. We have none.
With DeMar and Levine, I feel like you have to be very selective with the guys you put around them, especially on the defensive end.
Yeah. And if you look at the team, you can tell that they just threw DeMar and Levine on a team and are like, eventually we'll fix it. And eventually it's like when you're 40. Yeah. That's the issue. But I still think I'm saying all this bad stuff, but I still think regardless, the people they have put around DeMar and Levine being themselves are still a good enough team to be a clear playoff team to me. And when I say playoff, I'm not saying 1 through 10. I'm saying 6 through 8. I think they're a clear 6 through 8 for me. I just don't see it being anything higher than the 8. But there's a lot of teams like I don't know. We did it last week whenever we made our list. There's so many teams when I was looking at where I was like, dude, like 12 out of 15 of these teams in the Eastern Conference could easily have an opposite type of season than I predict. And the Western teams, like 7 or 8 of them, could easily fall off so hard or go so much better.
Flip-flop and slide
Yeah.
out. Yeah.
So we'll see. But the good news is we ain't got to wait long. It's already 12. It's already 10:24. It starts today, technically. Tomorrow for you. Yeah. So we ain't gonna wait much longer. I'll be working during the first game, so I will be catching everything. Hopefully, I'm off by the time of the second one, but I will be catching, sadly, probably all of them after.
I'm gonna have to catch them after too, unfortunately.
But I'll tell you this: I'm gonna dodge highlights so bad. I've never been like Usually, if I can't catch them live, I'll just watch like the 10-minute YouTube highlights.
Yeah.
Or I'll watch like League Pass's game recap, which is sometimes shorter than the highlights. But nope, not this year. This year I'm watching full games and full games only. I'm watching every single Bulls game. And I'm watching 60% of by 60%, I mean 60 games of 5 other teams guaranteed. Wemby will be one of them. We'll see. I'm watching that team like a hawk. Who are you watching this year before we get out of here?
Well, I mean, obviously being a Thunder fan, that's my number one.
That's one of the teams I'm watching too.
2 is the Bucks. I can't wait to see how that combo develops. And Dame's always been one of my favorite players, as much as he's killed us in the freaking playoffs. But so I love Dame. I love Giannis. I want to see that combo. Wemby's the gimme. And then honestly, it's again the team that I picked to be worse in the West, but I'm excited to watch the Trailblazers. I want to see what the deal is with DeAndre and if he can perform like an actual number 1 overall pick. I think Scoot Henderson is just kind of really reminds me of Westbrook, who is my favorite player when he was coming out of college. So I'm excited to see them too.
I have a note that I want to end. We can talk about it before we end, but I just now realized this, and this is a sad but really happy reality for me. And I just realized we can end this season with Wemby and the Spurs, Scoot and all the young guys on the Trailblazers, and a few other teams, the Magic, even young guys, Paolo having a phenomenal seasons, the Rockets having phenomenal seasons for themselves, really making huge jumps. And those teams still ending up with the first or second overall picks because it's that much talent in the league now. And that's a sad reality. Like, it's a scary reality because Wemby could also get next season's first round pick on his team. And it's like that means 2-3 years from now they're going to have a Thunder type of jump where they're all of a sudden they're in the playoff contention.
And Devin Vassell, he looks like the real deal in preseason.
Oh yeah,
I know it's just preseason, really liking him, but man, he looked different. So
and he's shooting. His shooting is one of those. Some of the shots he's taken in the preseason, especially early in games.
Yeah,
it feels like he's just taking them to warm up, but in game, and he's not doing it with much jump, not a very quick release, and early in games, and it's like it only happens early, and he makes them so much. I get so confused watching him because I'm like, I get it's preseason, but you guys are not guarding him, or is he just this good?
He's been doing that quick like little pull up from the free throw line, like extended there. And
some good guys, Malachi Branham. You have I'm excited for him. They have I keep forgetting his name all the time. There's Keldon Johnson and Jeremy Sohan, also 2 dudes who can make jumps. I'll say like this: every guy we've named, in my opinion, the floor of their career is 6 men. You know what I mean? And that's phenomenal to have 5 guys on your team whose floor is 6 men, and being a young team and potentially a team that gets a 1 through 3 pick. NBA's the next few years are going to be scary. And I'm happy we're going to be here to document it. But speaking of here to document it, same time next week. That's
hopefully
the tip-off.
Isaiah will be here.
Yep, thank God. Hopefully, man. And then I'll force him to answer questions. It was a good one. Peace.